the introduction of the upcoming Maritime Labour Convention, the MLC 2006, which has been implemented by the International Labour Organization, is a challenge to the entire maritime community. By replacing earlier labour conventions, MLC 2006 regulates the working and living conditions for seafarers and helps to create conditions for fair competition for the ship owners. But there are still a lot of questions regarding this topic. That's why I'm glad to welcome today Mr. Olaf Quas, who is responsible for the implementation of MLC 2006 at Classification Society Germanische in Hamburg. Good morning, Mr. Quas.
Good morning, Mrs. Zadowski.
Mr. Quas, could you please explain why it was necessary to introduce this new convention?
Due to the low level of implementation of the existing maritime labour regulations in the industry and the insufficient ratifications, the ILO saw the need to do something and to improve living and working conditions on a global level. Through the ILO tripartite committee, representative of seafarers, governments and ship owners have negotiated over more than 10 years a new contemporary standard, and so the MLC 2006 was adopted in 2006 as a new uniform, globally enforceable standard for maritime living and working conditions of seafarers. It also, as you said earlier, provides a level playing field, if you like, for ship owners. It creates fair conditions for competition, while by the same time flag states who are required to implement it into their national law have sufficient flexibility to do that.
And what are the main topics, the main issues that are included in this path-breaking convention?
Well, the MLC contains 5 titles, and these 5 titles mainly deal with key issues in maritime labour law, mainly conditions of employment, like minimum age of seafarers, regulations for dangerous works, health and safety and hygiene on board. Also issues like payment of wages, seafarers' employment agreements, or regulations for the use of recruitment and placement services for recruitment of seafarers. And also complaint procedures have to be implemented by ship owners. So it's the whole variety of maritime labour regulations which are now covered to a uniform level.
And who will be affected by this new convention?
Well, generally all seafarers on board ships are affected, and all ships in commercial trade and trading in international waters. By the time when the convention is or enters into force, some 50 to 60,000 ships need to be certificated, provided there are no Navy vessels, no fishing vessels, or no traditional built ships, and are of 500 gross tons or above. And all ships need to carry a maritime labour certificate and a declaration of labour compliance, demonstrating prima facie that they comply with the new regulations by the entry into force date.
And what do you think when the new convention is expected to enter into force?
The new convention enters into force 12 months after 2 criteria have been fulfilled. 30 member states of the ILO have to ratify the new convention, which need to represent 33% of the world gross tonnage. While the first criteria has already been fulfilled, the second criteria is expected to be fulfilled by end of 2011, when the majority of European countries are expected to submit their ratifications to the ILO.
And when would you recommend to start compliance?
Well, the sooner the better. Although the convention is not yet in force, a ship owner starting early with implementation has a number of benefits. Long before the convention enters into force, he is able to plan his own resources for preparation of procedures, or verifying their own procedures, doing training in the company, and to prepare for the implementation. Also, for the recruitment and placement of seafarers, he can already now demonstrate prima facie of providing decent living and working conditions on board. Last but not least, it is expected that Port State Control will also initiate a concentrated inspection campaign once the new convention comes into force. So long-term preparation for these will certainly help. Also, it is recommended to do a gap analysis on board, which allows the ship owner to verify the level of implementation of the new standards on the ship, which allows him to identify weaknesses, use them, and do the necessary room for improvement to implement the new requirements throughout the fleet. Also, the flag states, such as Marshall Islands, who has already ratified the new convention, encourage the ship owners to start early. If ship owners have Marshall Islands flag vessels, for instance, they are already now able to certify their ships, and they can start with applying for the Declaration of Labour Compliance. They can submit, or they can develop their own Declaration of Labour Compliance. Number 2, they can submit this documentation to Germanischer Lloyd for approval. They can approach Germanischer Lloyd for doing inspections on board and issue certificates. This is a proactive initiative by Marshall Islands to ensure what I just outlined, to make sure that early compliance helps ship owners also to avoid the inevitable expected bottleneck when the convention comes into force and all ships need to be inspected and certified.
And what will be the impact on ship owners currently having new buildings on order?
The new convention contains requirements for construction and equipment, which are applicable for new buildings. However, only those new buildings are affected with a key laying date on or after the entry into force date of the new convention. GL will provide a certification to new buildings which demonstrates compliance with the construction and equipment requirements. Also, we have a voluntary pre-check for noise and vibration, which means it's a risk assessment, if you like, which can identify weaknesses or room for improvement in areas where specific limits cannot be met, and it allows the opportunity to develop proposals for improvement or design modifications where necessary.
Mr. Quas, could you please outline how Germanischer Lloyd does assist ship owners to gain compliance?
In addition, we offer a service called ILO ACON, which has in focus the existing labor standards for construction and equipment for existing ships, because they partly have to comply with the existing rules prior to implementing the social standards of the new Maritime Labour Convention 2006. Also, we have a training package available, which we call MLC training, covering workshops, implementation workshops, where ship owners can work on proper solutions to requirements of the convention. And also we have info workshops for ships commands and ship owners. All of GL's ILO cert services can be ideally combined by ship owners to provide a planning, preparation and monitoring package to be early prepared for the implementation of the MLC 2006.
Mr. Quas, on behalf of Ship&Offshore, many thanks for the interview. So we learned that there are sufficient instruments available for ship owners to be prepared for compliance in time. Further information is available at ilo.org.